Miss Rose, can you see my screen?
I can see, yeah, reading, critiquing our research articles.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
I have a question actually, since I missed last class. The discussion board that was posted for module 1, is that due today?
That was due on Sunday, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay, so they're due Sunday before class.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it in tonight if that's okay, and then I'll keep that in mind for next week.
No worries. The first one, everything I'm kind of giving leeway. I know there are some students who did not even have access to Blackboard as of yet. So I'm not as stringent in the beginning because I know we're still working out a lot of the kinks for many of the students.
Okay, yeah, I just got the book last night, so I'll work on it after class today.
Okay, no worries.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to get started with class today. What I would like to do is do a little take back from last week. I know there was a lot of information that we covered last week about the roles. Were you able to access the competencies for nurse practitioners?
So yes, I was able to find a document, but I saw the 2022 after I had already written the
That's fine.
I read the 2017 online.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to give you that because I tried to put access for you all, but some of these documents you can't get if you don't have, like, you have to be either savvy or you got to be a member of the organization to get certain information. So I copied these off because we talked a lot about the diverse roles for advanced practice nurses. And so I wanted to definitely give out the core competencies related to nurse practitioners. And then I also wanted to make sure everybody had the opportunity to review the core competencies for nurse educators. Okay. So I printed them out because I'm the one sometimes when I talk to you, it's better for you to see it on paper. What I would like is for you, and Miss Rose, you may be able to go into the Blackboard site, and I tried to make sure that the links were available so that you can click on the link so you can kind of follow along what we're doing. Because I really think we need to delve a little bit into competency because that's what's really, really important, right? What are the competencies for these advanced practice roles? And I want you to think about the competencies that you see here and the videos that you all had the opportunity to watch. Did you watch the videos from module 1? There was a nurse practitioner who kind of gave why she became a nurse practitioner, the challenges, the benefits. It was in module 1. You don't remember the video? Okay, so let me see. And the reason I like to bring this up because when you decide that you want to be an advanced practice nurse, sometimes, we have this thought of what this role is going to be, right? And it's important to look at it from diverse ways of what is it that you're really getting into. So let me go here. And go back to Blackboard. And it's a very short video, but I want to really, because she said some things that I want to have a discussion on. Let me go. And I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a minute because what I want to do is be able to share the screen so you, Ms. Rose, can also see what I'm.
I've been a staff for 16 years. And will the prevention and the benefits that you have to think about the staff in this community. But I also need to protect in the world family practice clinic that is fully by a practitioner. medical research is a specialty area. I would call it a clinical specialty area. It's an advanced practice degree. And my training has been that of analyst, and let's let people background things. And so it took several years of graduate education and a lot of clinical time that I have taken in graduate school and almost to my original diploma degree was that intense and that much clinical. But I knew what I was able to do in so that's what I did. So it's an advanced field of the way that I do a lot of primary care patient treatment. That's my love. That's where I want to go. And it's a lot of autonomy and nursing practice. And so we're close to the day. And so I'm between 150 and 30 patients, but we have very busy day, 20 to 30 days a day. We like to spend some time with them. I see everything all the way to what does it do with exams and sports physical, some days I may sit, some days I may probably feel because someone walks on the chest pain. And very good today. But I really so all able to has for confidence, we have to prevent that patients from really. I can actually know that they have this school. The more I want to do, the more they different. And the more protector that's more experience. But I always feel that I wanted to be more imagine I see what it I loved that aspect. But when people are living to do is what I want to do. And so maybe was was still the way to go for me. And so I started looking for new programs. I think we have a pretty good mix of programs now, and that's what I wanted to expand what I knew. And so many of the childhood illnesses just follow right into adult life. And so it's what happened in childhood leads to adult kind of routines. And so I was really feeling this much for something that had lots of other things in it. Good research and statistics and the research I would need. And because I did perfectly area for what about empathy and the skill and the thing for the Spanish community. And then what plan? Sometimes that's when I think don't play picture into the sanitation process, but that picture is along the way. Leaders are made that form, so you can apply the system. Curiosity, God, another one, you don't know, and you can have an accident, and this is the business that we're doing in the life. What I found is the regular education of nothing else doing. You're sitting next to that experience makes professional. And one of the most patients who figure that thing, what I was going to do is not a meetings about the patients. And so being willing to listen, being willing to feedback from patients, the faculty, and incorporate them into the conference. Or something like that. This is just expanding my knowledge. We are trying to keep patients. We have many patients about in the class. I'm many of the so we are going to work with that. We have to at least many interest companies don't recognize us as providers, and therefore we have been paying some which is like from customers, but that is in a day when you're good warriors, additional skill you can provide super strength controlled substances, which means total toxin. Well, that's the patient with that can be something to get from treating patient with ADHD. And so there are challenges in what's in it. We just the packages can be about it. It's baby steps. I've seen more nurses, organized together to speak with us. And that means how many people that we know, like single acceptance patients that actually senior patients see that as this kind of thing, we see education, but I'm also seeing some more teamwork among colleagues, which is excellent, because we all have something to offer. And bringing them to the table for the patients, we're all here, so it's better or worse than anything else, well, it's something in the course that, the aim, places like a lot of the practice formation of really special, it's an initiative for there's a suite of practice to a full extent, and to help patients. Patient perspective, I will know practice. A large percentage of practice so what I get some big challenges. And all of these important, all very things are hard. And just been asked, but we live in and they sure what night and the accident was patient time. And you're supposed to step right in, you're for education. And so this is going to be a time for healthcare, hospitals and insurance companies. So we get to healthcare, it's not fairly active, it's very and but preventing us honestly, this tension it's going to be I would say move forward with that. We started to pass up the time for the year, especially this last part of the station. Oh my gosh, this is wrong. We have this amount of time, let's go to this and this and this in 5 years. We will be the same age. And we will be in confidence. I got 2 months, you have a couple of plans. So then we gather and it will put someone. The business are going, start to the learning. You'll feel coming I will also be very particular in taking the GRE examination, covering them as required, because they're focused on the experience, the application process, and you're not going to come for that. But also challenging people expanding knowledge base. And we're going to put in the questions, what we need to know. When I would also look for programs, very heavy critical there's a right reason because they can you don't even think I'm going to do that. You will be someone that I'm going to do that. But it's not because
What did you all think about that video? What you think?
You got some pretty good insight. Definitely, it's very scary to the beginning. Hopefully, as each semester knows, like each class knows, they're a little more better, not consulting about what's people that are working on the role.
Did anything that she say scare you, or anything that you didn't think about? Anything was new, like this new idea, or you're like, nah, it's kind of what I thought. Yeah, I'm waiting to hear it, see what they do too. Can you all still hear us? Put a thumbs up if you can.
Yes, I can hear you.
I can hear you. I couldn't, I don't see the video on my modules on the computer. that specific one. The Johnson and Johnson one's on there.
You didn't see the one I just showed you?
It's not on. That's on module 1, right?
Yes, module 1.
Yeah, I don't see that on when I'm looking. I see the Johnson and Johnson one. I watched that yesterday. I kind of caught a little bit of what she was saying, but it was a little bit like, I think the feedback of it playing in the classroom, it's hard to kind of hear everything she said.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me, what was your perspective on the Johnson and Johnson video? What did you get out of that?
It just made me think a lot deeper into the role of a nurse educator, honestly. I think like as a nurse on the floor, like your interaction with the nurse educator, it's more so like your yearly competencies and like any like new products or like any new tech, like if we get a new EKG machine or something like that, that's kind of like my interaction with our educator. And I think I asked my educator a lot about policies, just because I like to know like what exactly is our hospital's policy. But I think I kind of got more of an introspective role of what like nurse educators do outside of like the hospital. So it was like interesting to watch.
So did it kind of broaden your thoughts on what a nurse educator is? It's a much more of academia.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, a lot of times people just think of nurse educators in academia. It's so broader than that. I like to say, although you may go to be a nurse practitioner, to a degree, you still have to be a nurse educator, right? They go hand in hand. Yes, you can go get the certifications to be a certified nurse educator, but it's a role that you kind of pick up anyway. So I just wanted to kind of point that out because we went over a lot of different roles last week. So just really think about the diversity in the roles, but then how they overlap. And if you look at some of the core competencies for nurse educators and nurse practitioners, they follow the same, right? And so I just want to bring that to your attention. Now, I know that we're going to be doing a lot of talking on theory, on concepts, and you're going to have to look at a lot of articles. I think that's the best way to utilize theory, because I think if you take theory and just try to learn theory, you're like, this really means not much. You think it's something you learn and then you can dump it later. So we're going to apply a lot of that. So what I would like to do is kind of take a step back and let's talk about when you are reading those research articles that you're going to be pulling probably every week, what are you looking for? Anyone have done a lot of research, reading the literature, kind of digging deep on research at all? Or is everyone like kind of, I read articles, but I really don't do the digging deep on the article?
I read mostly just to get an idea of the content. Like,
Okay.
what is the author trying to say to me? I'm not skilled enough to take the method or the sampling or whatever. I don't think I'll pay attention to that.
So what you're going to see is I'm going to just start laying down a basic foundation for you about when you're looking at this research. And then you're going to build on it as you go through the program. But I hope to lay down a good foundation. So when you're starting to look at these articles, or what we're going to see is research is more than articles, that you can kind of look at it with a more of an analytical eye. Okay, so we're going to start to kind of go through that. So what I'd like to do is just briefly kind of talk about what are some of the things that you should see in any research article or journal. When you're reading the articles, what are the key components that should be included in each one of them? Okay. And then once we talk about that, we're going to talk a little bit about what are the different styles of writing when you're doing research. And what I mean by that is quantitative versus qualitative. And then we're going to just talk about how we kind of critique some of these articles. And even if you're at a conference and you see like a poster presentation, or if you're listening through a presentation, an oral presentation, what is it that you should be listening for? First, I like to always make it clear when we think about research or scholarship, it is more than just journal articles. It is when you go to those conferences and you get the oral presentations, the posters, and sometimes now they do mini like round robins where someone may talk to you for about 5 or 10 minutes and then you get to ask questions. But we're going to kind of delve deep into a lot of that. Okay. And everybody can see my screen, correct? Thumbs up if you can.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. So when you're looking at your journal articles, here are some basic components that you'll see in probably every article. Of course, you're going to have a title. Normally, your title, that should be something that captures your attention. So you'll see sometimes you may read a title and you're like, oh, the article is not exactly what I thought it was. Because the whole point is to capture the audience, right? The next thing you're going to see is an abstract. What's the abstract? What is that telling us? Yes, it gives us the introduction to the article. What else? Anyone online? What would you say the abstract does for us?
It gives you a little bit more of an insight as to what is actually in the article, like specific, not just the introduction. It kind of gives you a brief synopsis of the whole article.
Perfect. That is awesome. That is exactly what it does. So if you think about the different sections that you'll see in an article, oftentimes the abstract is going to consist of all of that. Depending on which journal you're writing from, you may see those actual headings saying like method, results, discussion. Some journals just want you to include all this information without the headings. So it's just a very general, but it basically is going to walk you through in very few words, normally 250. I've not seen an abstract more than 500 words, and it's going to walk you through that entire article in a brief sitting. Why do you think they do that? Why do you think the authors are asked to do that?
I kind of think so you don't waste your time reading the whole article. Like you said, you might see the title and think it's one thing, but once you read the abstract, it could be something completely different than what you think.
Perfect. That is exactly it. And as you all start to dig deeper and do more research, the abstract helps you. Say you decide you want to do research on what it's like to be a new graduate student. You may go in and get 1,000 articles, 1,000 hits. No one wants to read 1,000 articles just to find out, you know what, it's only 10, right? So once you start to kind of wind it down, you may come up with 50, but who wants to read 50 articles, right? So that abstract will help you to be able to see, you know what, I can quickly skim this article and see if it's what I want. And if not, I can chuck it. And if so, I can file it and I can keep it. So that's kind of what the abstract does for you. It captures the reader. And then you also have your introduction. What do you think you include in your introduction? We did this last week when we introduced ourselves. What do we want to get out of that introduction? Yes, you get some of your background. And what you can see in some articles, they may ask you for like an introduction, and then you'll see where they say background separate. It depends on what the journal wants. Each journal tells you specifically if you're going to get published, they tell you exactly what they want. Okay. And then you get your methods, your results, and your discussions. Those components are usually in every article that you're going to read. You can also sometimes find in nursing journals and even now in the medical journals, you may get a what's next section. And what that's basically saying is, yes, this is what we found in our study. This is what needs to be done next. Because oftentimes to get published, they want to know, first of all, what issue did you address? We call that the gap. And then what is it that this body of research or literature that you've written, what's the next step? Okay. So those are the things when you're looking at your articles that you should see. I put this in here just to kind of give you information about when you're looking at a journal article. There are some general things that you want to be trying to figure out as you're reading. One is, what is the study about? Right? What are the concepts? What are the constructs that they're investigating? And in some articles, I think I printed out one, you will see that before you read the article, they'll have a section that says concepts. And so those will be like keywords that that's important to that article. Oftentimes that is utilized when you're doing research, when you go to the library and you want to look up a certain topic. Those keywords are some of the words that will help pull certain articles forward first. So when we publish, we want to have those keywords, because if someone's looking for something, I did an article on oral examination. So I did a lot of oral examinations was one of the terms. Assessment evaluations was another term. In graduate nursing school was another one. So just in case someone's looking at, oh, how do I be innovative in teaching and how I assess my students, I want to use words that'll capture them, and then they capture my article, if that makes sense. Okay. I am not going to read the slide to you, but I want you and all of this came from your textbook, but I want you to see, these are some general things you need to be thinking. What concepts are they talking about? What kind of study is it? What is the difference between qualitative and quantitative? Some kind of instrument. But it has like a numerical qualitative result. You like feelings and things like that. Yes. One of the things historically, it used to be considered, if you did quantitative research, that was considered real research. Qualitative is like, that's more like the touchy-feely psychological, that's not research. But in actuality, sometimes qualitative can be much harder, because how do you actually measure feelings, social structures, and things of that nature? Sometimes you can have a combination of both. So when you're looking at your article, you may say, well, this is not qualitative or quantitative, it's both. Okay, but those are the main hubs that you want to look at. Okay. And then when you're looking at the article, depending on if it's qualitative and quantitative, then you want to be like, okay, so let's see what it is that they're actually telling us they're doing. Are they actually measuring what they said? If they said they were looking at burnout, is everything in there about burnout? Or is it about wellness? Or is it about some other term that's a social issue, but it's not really what they said they were measuring? We just talked about that. And what I'm going to do is, I was unable to get it to upload. There are some tools, literally, it's a chart that it says, this is qualitative research, this is quantitative research, this is how you evaluate. And so I'm going to post that for you all. So whenever you're reading a journal article, you can be like, okay, let me look at this chart. And then once you start to get it and you understand it, you then no longer have to do the chart. You're like, okay, I can look at this article now and I can see everything about this article. And that's just where I got that. Any questions about when you're looking at an article, what you should be looking for? That would be a no. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. You all tell me online if you can see it. It should have changed the theory, analysis, and evaluation.
Yes.
Okay. And what I'm doing for everyone is I'm kind of backtracking, because you all are I'm asking you all to evaluate theories, evaluate literature, and we hadn't given you the structure to do that. So I'm kind of giving you the structure so that we can build upon it. And then at the end of this lecture, I'm going to give you an example. I took Benner's theory, and I'm going to show you how I looked at Benner's theory. And this will just be like kind of beginning parts of when you're doing your presentation. Over the next few weeks before you even get to your presentation, you can say, oh, I saw how Dr. Williams pulled all these things, and you could utilize those same things if you choose, okay? All right. Somebody tell me, what is a theory? What is a theory? We like that word. But what is it? Last week, we talked about nursing being a profession. And we identified some things that we said, this is why nursing is a profession. Would you say it explains why we do something, or it explains why something happens? Which one would you say? What would you say is both? Like there's, I don't know, let's talk about the role theory. Everybody has a role. Does it describe a phenomenon, an event? What makes it a theory and not just, oh, you know, somebody can just make up anything? What makes a theory and not just a thought, not just an opinion?
Right, I guess it's something you can write out, you can ask the question, and you can write expect to test the question, and you can prove whether it's true or it's not.
Correct. And so what would we call that question? What's the scientific word for that? Hypothesis, right? And it includes some concepts. There has some stability to it. There are some norms to it. There may even be some complexity to it, right? Now, how about analysis? What is analysis versus evaluation? If you analyze something or if you evaluate something.
I think analysis is more critical, so what you look at. Evaluation, just look at it, as, you know, as a whole. I explain myself right here. Well,
You're actually on the right track.
that's not.
So let's dig a little deeper. So that's perfect. So if we're doing an analysis of a theory, what will we mean? If we're looking at a theory, we want to analyze that theory. Say, let's go back to role theory. We're analyzing role theory. What would be important for us to be able to analyze role theory? What would we have to know about role theory?
You have to look at how do you clear up the latest theory? How do you come to that answer to that? That's what I can see. What kind of who they talk to, what kind of how do they do their research? Who they talk to? What's their personal experience on this topic? For example, during the article about real good about nurses, in the article, and this the authors with that 1,000 different articles to evaluate what's analyze what's true or why is nursing female dominated field.
So we're looking at the rigor of their literary research, right? That's very important when we're analyzing something. Because I can sit up here and say, okay, I'm going to develop a Dr. Williams theory. It's just like, okay, what am I basing that off of? What is the literature telling me? What is my expertise in it? Right? What concepts? What maximum? What am I using to develop my theory? Is it consistent or does it change? So all of that is great with analysis, but then evaluation. How can we evaluate the theory? You all are new on your path, graduate students on your path to be an advanced practitioner. You read articles about advanced practitioners. When you read your article, did anybody talk about a theory that they utilize in any of your articles? I don't know. Oftentimes that is something overlooked. It's not uncommon. I've read many articles and you're like, I didn't see no theory in there. or I didn't see a framework, or I didn't see a model, but that's very important when we're talking about, is something a profession, and is what someone's saying, what is it grounded in? And you'll see as you read articles that sometimes we leave pieces out, and you're like, oh, I don't quite get it. Or you may read it and you're like, the author never told me that they use the novice to expert model or theory. However, I can see it in the language because all the concepts that they utilize are consistent. Okay. I just like to always go back to history. Theory started around the 1960s. They started to analyze them and evaluate them. Why do you think we did that? And I want to take you back just to kind of give you a little nugget. Think about our conversation last week about nursing. Is it a profession? Is it a career? What is it? Occupation? Why do you think there was a push to start to analyze theories, and specifically nursing theories? What did we say was important for to be considered a profession? What did we say? We all gave a lot of great points. Standard of practice is very important. Establishment of theories. Nursing historically, we had our own theories, but we borrowed a lot of our theories from either medicine or some of the psychological fields. And so it's always been a debate. Is nursing a real profession? Because they don't have their theories. Right. And so when we started doing theories, now it's like we got to evaluate these theories. Are they really consistent? Can they be applied? Because usually theory can be applied, oftentimes even across disciplines. And so we said, okay, we're trying to justify our profession and show that we are a profession. And so there was analysis of theories. Okay. That's that. I'm not going to go through this question because you all should know that question because we just answered that question. I like to now bring you to when we talked about theory versus analysis. Give you a few minutes to read that. And then give me your thoughts about what you see. Anybody got thoughts on this?
It was to me seems like it's basically something about can this even be here? Probably. And then analysis needs to dive deeper into like how can you like make this work as far as testing you certain something that don't need.
Anyone else?
No, I think because I was running to the theory and the testing of hypothesis. So I think that's very important for theory to be a theory. If you see this side and this is the theory, and I do the same side and come with the same
Yes. And that's the thing. And as you say that, I would piggyback on that because if I have the same problem at a different place, but I could put your theory to that problem and it should work. The result may be a little different, but it should be applicable. If I can't do that, then we need to go back to the drawing board on that theory. Right?
So a theory can be applied to all like any discipline basically.
Yep. And there are some theories that are specific to nursing as they are with other professions. And then there's some theories that we have borrowed from other professions because they apply.
So they can be discipline specific.
Yes, they can.
There are some.
Yes. Because to be a profession, there are some things that are specific to nursing, that's specific to nursing, right? The same thing with engineering. To be honest, a lot of, I want to say business theory are applicable in healthcare because healthcare also, right? But it sometimes can become sticky if you have a business mindset and you think you can bring that business theory into healthcare without thinking of all the other factors that impact it because systems are complex. And so theories have to take that into consideration as well, right? Yes, yes, you can. And I have an article that I think I have it. If you go to your Blackboard, I put a link in there. I think it says translational theories. Go under module 2. Go to module 2. And I think under, I think it says translational. Under reading assignments. Go to reading theory. I have one it has the Brenner. It has, and I'll show it to you later. It has Brenner, it has 4 different theories in this one research. Because you can utilize it for whatever, because research articles can have multiple hypotheses, right? And depending on what question you're trying to answer, it may require a different theory. Or you may see that multiple theories can help you cover and get you to do better research. But anytime you use any theory, there should be an explanation why you use it and why that theory over other theories. And I'll be able to show you, I believe, it might be at the end of this PowerPoint. And I think we spoke to this last bullet. It says identified characteristics of significant theories. They have a scope when we talk about the generality of it, but it also talks about the complexity, the testability you talk to, like can we test this? Is it useful? Does it have value? Does it generate more information? And does the terminology mean something? Is it vague terminology or is it terminology that is understandable? And what I've done in these slides is this process that we just talked about is from the theorist Ellis. So the next few slides, every slide tells you the perspective of different theorists. That's how they define what a good set of standards should be when you're looking at theories. As you read through this, you start to see some of the theorists, they have the same standards. Some just added a few more bullets. And I will say, I'm a little biased when it comes down to the evaluation of theory. And these are just a bunch of different individuals, and I just put them in there for you. This is all in your book. And one that I liked was Walls. It says 3 separate criteria for analysis and evaluation for 3 levels of nursing theory. As you all read, what do we mean by 3 levels of nursing theory? Y'all remember? Just read it. Okay, no problem. Let's talk about it. The practical theory, the middle range theory, and then the nursing model. And I'm quite sure I even have another one to tell they categorize them different, but this is how wall is characterized. So think about practice theory. This there's this thought processes, those are ones that can be operationalized. Okay. Theories you use in practice. The beginner model, novice to expert. You all are experts in nursing. Now you're starting over, you're a novice as an advanced practice, and now you got to go through that process again, right? So that's something that you can put into practice. Then you have your middle range, right? Major concepts within the field. And we're going to talk about these in depth over the next few weeks. So you don't have to remember everything about every component. I just want you to know that there's different categories where we're going through these theories. And then you have like nursing model, right? The way I think about it is this is the ones that kind of define certain things in nursing. Okay. This is also in your book. I just printed it out because I wanted to make sure that you all utilize this because it'll help you do an internal analysis and external analysis. Okay. Dudley Brown did a theory which has, I think hers was in the late 90s. And what she said was, when you're thinking about a theory and you're evaluating it, it should be accurate, consistent, fruitful, simplistic, but yet complex. It should cover scope, acceptability, social, cultural utility. Many of the same terms that you saw in other ones. The reason I'm so partial to this, she was my teacher or one of the professors at Johns Hopkins. And so I always find it interesting whenever I meet someone who I'm like, oh my God, someone actually did that. Like, I would never think about writing about theory, but she did. She did a lot of work on it. Okay. I was going to retype a chart that they had in your book, and they literally take these different theories and they kind of put all these different factors related to theory, and they'll tell you which factors overlap with each theory. Once I started typing it, it would have been in minute letter numbers, and you would have been like, this is a waste of my time. I can't see it. So just go to your book just so you could see where they highlight, what they focus on. So it's just something to peruse. It's not nothing you have to memorize, but it is something just to kind of see how they look at the theory. I will ask this question. When you think about theory, does it evaluate? Is its purpose to evaluate, to generate new information from a theory? Is that the purpose of theory evaluation? To generate new information from a theory? What do you think?
I don't think it is to generate new information.
What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, I guess so make sure whatever the research is talking about, one, maybe it's true or I don't know, whatever the characteristics we talked about, because it's testable, somebody can use it, so they can actually use it, right? But, so I don't think it's very new information. Maybe just to highlight the main purpose of the
Okay, excellent. Anyone else think anything different? Are we all going to support him? We all say, yeah, we need to call a friend. He's right. Okay. Let's see. It is not to generate new. We don't generate new. Yeah, when we're evaluating it, we're seeing if it examines the theory's origin. The origin is very important. And is it showing a relationship in those concepts that theory is talking about? Okay. Let's give you another one. Which of the following nurse scholars was the only one to outline 3 separate criteria for analysis and evaluate and evaluation for the 3 levels of nursing theory? I already said, y'all better use y'all test taking skills of all the stuff I showed you. Correct. All right. So now, let me just show you how I kind of start to look at a theorist. And I'm just going to do the beginning part and I'll build on it throughout the course. And then you'll see how your presentation can be, or the components that could be possibly necessary when you're doing your presentation, however you want to do it. So let's look at Dr. Brenner. She does the novice to expert, right? We hear a lot about novice to expert. So I think someone mentioned who is that person writing? Why do they have the credentials to write it? So when we look at Dr. Brenner, she started nursing in 1960. Okay. 1979 to 1975, she was a research associate and a research assistant. Okay. So she got some understanding of research. 1971 to 1981, she was a project director in San Francisco at the University of San Francisco. Okay. And in 1982, she was doing research and teaching at the University of California. That's when she started doing more. So we like, okay, this is a person, she knows, we believe what she says. She's just not Joe Blow. Yes, yes. And that's what's important. Think about, even though we read just like a perspective last week, we all were asking, like, who is this stuff? What are your, he didn't tell us his credentials, right? What is it? What gives you the right to make these kind of, why should we think you know what you're talking about? Here you see it. And if you remember the novice to expert, which you probably remember from nursing school, right? Biggest thing is, we all start out as novice. We're beginners, right? No experience, starting fresh. That's the way you'll be in your advanced practice role, although you're expert in your nursing role. Then we go to advanced beginner. We start to say, okay, you show some acceptable performance, right? Some prior experience. Think about when you first got out of nursing school. Remember that first day on the floor? I still remember my first day on the floor, right? You're nervous, you think you got it, but you're really nervous. And you're like, I really don't know. I don't know this, right? So we got very little experience. I had a lot of book information, but not a lot of experience. So that was me being a beginner. After about a year or so, okay, I'm an advanced beginner. I started to get comfortable. I'm not always picking up that drug book. Wasn't always running to my preceptor, got a little comfortable. I could go get breakfast and lunch now, not just lunch, So you start to recognize you have a little knowledge. People are coming to you and be like, okay, can you handle this for me? So that's your advanced beginner, right? Then you get proficient. You understand all the parts of it. Think about it in your nursing role when you got to a place where you're like, okay, I'm not just carrying out orders. I am now able to synthesize the information that my patient, whatever that patient is presenting to me, I can synthesize it now and I can go to the doctor now and I have some knowledge to impart to them about what's going on. It's not, oh, I'm just repeating the vital signs. Oh, I'm just going to give them that because you told me to and I got to look it up. You're like, no, I'm good. I can now bring something to the table because I can now synthesize that information. Usually they say you're competent at about 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years. Expert, you no longer rely on the principles, the rules, the guidelines, right? To connect situations and determine actions. That's when they say you're an expert. They still are using this model. So what does that tell us about this field?
It's been tested not.
Yeah. And you use it in nursing, but when you I worked at McDonald's, they kind of did the same thing, when they did our evals. They're literally walking through the same concept.
So just to analyze this, is it possible that as a practitioner, you may between competency and expert, depending on the situation?
Yes. That's really important to know. Because it's not as if you have to go from one to the next and that you can't be back in the other. I tell people, I am very competent in teaching. I'm very competent in outpatient care. You put me in inpatient, I'm gonna fall somewhere in between here. Right? Because it's not what I do. I don't do that, right? And then even I am competent in education, but I came here to Bowie when everything about this system is different. So I'm like, okay, I'm an expert in education and teaching, but when it comes down to their blackboard and some of their processes, I'm like, right? I can learn it quickly, but I'm not here. I'm not an expert yet. Right? So yeah, you can definitely fluctuate. Think about if you take this, could you apply it to your personal life?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would- I would just-
Okay, I was ready with the mental memory too.
And the reason I want you to think about that, because when you're looking at all the different theories, I want you to think about how is it applied? Because that's where it's important. How would you apply it? How did whatever article you read apply whatever theory that you're reading? Does it translate? Because if it doesn't translate, and if you could only use it in one situation, like, well, what is that really? Okay. Yeah, are you all still with us? Can we get a thumbs up? Can we get a yes?
Yes,
We're here.
we're here.
Okay, great. I'm going to try to see. You are going to the library. Yes, they told me at 6:30. Yes, ma'am. I have been, because I really need you all, to get the easy way, or not the easy way, the correct way, the most expeditious way to do this, to start to dig into the literature. But I want to show you all some of them. And all I'm doing is I'm trying, guys, to pull up an article that is related to it speaks to several things that I'm gonna shrink you all for a minute. I want to show you one of the questions was asked when you use multiple let's see if we can go in there. Multiple theories, and you can't. And so what I want to do is show you how we did that. able to bring up the article on the mails, right?
Yes.
Were you able to see? Put it into another search and then we can get it to come up. Okay, well, I can't get the article to come up, but at the end of this presentation, there's an article that shows you, they use Brenner's model theory, they use 3 other theories in one. But they wanted to talk about the transition to advanced practice. And I have no idea why it was in my practice opening this up several times before. Because that would be to show you all. You sure can.
On the reading assignment,
Mhm.
I don't think you give us any sort of any chapters to read about. You know, give us chapters to read on. Any things not to take you out of.
Not at all.
Give us chapters to read on. You know, advanced practice, not this book, but not on.
What edition is that? I think you did it.
We got what the wrong edition was?
What edition? It was something really simple. Yeah, I think that was it.
Sept?
I thought they did whole thing. I just put it in the Amazon, that's what popped up.
Yeah.
No, it's another one.
Let me check, let me.
But on the reading assignment, only have us reading from this book, not
Not from the theory,
not from the theory.
right, yeah. Yeah, you're gonna start your theory next week. I'm just giving you the background so you can be ready. But let me check, because I thought there was a new edition, but it's not. And I need to. Yeah. And then the library. Also, the library contacted me today. They are going to purchase the newer edition and have it on reserve ebook for you all. So she said she would get the newer edition, but not. And she said she would do that on ebook. Yeah. Is it Amazon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
New edition.
About.
Oh, no, like, probably passes here.
Did they charge you 100 for the book? We're just talking here about which textbook in the readings. So with today, you all have a great foundation on how to look at theory, how to evaluate theory, and how to evaluate reason. So going forward, when we're having discussion, then it'll be, I think, easier, so you know what the kind of the roadmap is. After today, tomorrow, I will upload those 2 documents. One will show you how to do qualitative evaluation when you're looking at an article that's qualitative, and then the other one is quantitative. So it's like a little check. It's not difficult, but it'll just give you some nuggets. So even if you have to do a discussion here. Just to let you know, I try not to put a lot of discussion boards out, unless it's a time we're not needed. Because if we're here discussing, why am I gonna have you do a discussion board? I feel like that's kind of redundant, not my it's either. So I'm trying to do that. We would only do, now.
Sounds on the web.
Okay. I do have a question for you all. Was everybody able to get into Exemplify? Yes. Were you able to download?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
mock-
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Yeah.
I'm not trying to speak it.
Okay, go into exemplify. I just wanna make sure everybody is working, because I talked to Dr. Moore. And everything is.
Should I download the exam?
The mock one? Yes. The reason I want you to do it is I want you to go through it, because what the mock that is gonna do, and I sat and took it too. So say I gave you a question that may be multiple answers, it'll tell you how to do that. If you needed to know where your timer is, if I did something that's what we call hotspots, you gotta touch the picture somewhere, things of that nature. It's going to take you through how exam software works. Make sure you know where the timer is, how you can set an alarm, if you're somebody who wants to set an alarm, to make sure you're not putting too much time in questions, because we take that process. And it gives you time to practice and get comfortable before you actually do the exam. So that's kind of the purpose. Nobody gave you a password. There should be no password. Tell you need a password?
When I press download, they download it. And stick it in there.
Anyone else getting they need a password? Okay. Okay, online, were you all, was your exemplified asking you for a password?
I didn't go into the exam. I just made sure I could download it because I couldn't download it on my Mac for whatever reason. So I downloaded it on my other laptop, but I didn't actually go into the exam. You want me to get it and go into the exam?
That's a mock, it says mock exam, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Please download it and see if it says you need a passcode.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna go on mine to check as well, because there should not be, Dr. Moore did not tell me that there was a password that was necessary. But I wanna make sure.